The Nassau Institute proudly presents its inaugural Economics of Liberty lecture series. The lectures were conducted May 2nd and 3rd, 2011 in Nassau, Bahamas by Dr. Richard Ebeling, Professor of Economics at Northwood University in Midland, Michigan, USA. The Nassau Institute is grateful for Dr. Ebeling's dedication and assistance and great teaching ability. A special thank you is extended to the Templeton Foundations for their generous support, without which this event would not have been possible. We also thank the College of the Bahamas and Professor Randy Forbes for hosting this student lecture series in the new Harry C. Moore Library auditorium. Please enjoy Professor Ebeling as he discusses the economics of liberty.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I want to thank you for joining us again today. We have 4 lectures today, which will sort of round off what we were discussing beginning yesterday. The first topic for today, if you recall on the program, is called Understanding Booms and Busts, Money, Inflation, and the Business Cycle. This is obviously a large topic. It could be a whole set of lectures in themselves. So in our time available, I'd like to sort of give an overview of the nature of money, how inflation is created, and most especially how business cycles, the booms and busts of inflations and depressions, upturns and downturns, tend to be generated in the economy. First, what we need to keep in mind is that money is originally not the creation of government. Money originates in the market. And it's very simple to understand how money develops if one understands the problems of barter. I know some of you have, or maybe all of you have taken at least beginning or principles microeconomics, macroeconomics. And the fact is that the way economists in general have understood it for a long time, how money evolves or develops, is that people find that there are opportunities to trade. But often they also discover that there are the difficulties of agreeing upon terms of trade because of the hurdles or the difficulties of what's called barter. Barter is the direct exchange of one good for another. Bananas directly for a pair of shoes, a pair of clothes directly exchanged for a computer. Now, if we think about this, is that let's take my case. I'm an economics professor. So let us suppose that I had to acquire the things that I needed directly by trading my teaching labor services to others who might have things that I desire. Let's suppose that I'm hungry. So I go into the supermarket and I go up to the supermarket manager and say, you know, I really could use 3 loaves of bread, a couple of pounds of hamburger meat, some breakfast cereal, 3 quarts of milk. You know, I have like this little, shopping list. And I say to him, and in exchange, I'll be happy to give you and the other people at the supermarket a series of economics lectures as payment. What do you think is the reaction going to be? I know, enthusiasm. We've been waiting for someone to come in and offer us economics lectures in exchange for some of our food. Gosh, you don't know how long we've been waiting for you. No, I don't think that that's going to be the reaction. Because I know it's a shocking thought, except for myself and obviously a few strange weirdo people like you. How many people like to voluntarily endure listening to economics lectures? So the problem that I would face is that I would not be able to directly exchange that which I have to sell in the market, my labor services as an economics professor, for the various things that I want in the society. So what people discover is that maybe there are indirect ways to be able to achieve the goals that they have in mind. Suppose that, for example, there's Joe, and Joe has commodity A, and there's Bill, who has commodity B. Now, Joe would gladly sell some of his commodity A for some of Bill's commodity B. The difficulty is, we can imagine, is that, unfortunately, Bill doesn't want Joe's commodity A. He either has no use for it, or he already has enough of it to serve any purposes that he might have in mind. Now, does this mean that Joe has to leave the arena, the place of exchange, frustrated, disappointed, unable to satisfy his desire for some of Bill's B? Well, possibly. But we can easily imagine that Joe would also ask himself, well, is there a way to less directly acquire what I want? And we can imagine that there's Sam. And Sam has commodity C, for instance. And we can imagine that Joe says, maybe if I traded my commodity A for some of Sam's commodity C, and then I offered commodity C in exchange for Bill's commodity B. And if he was confident, if he had a belief and expectation that Bill, while he didn't want commodity A, might very well be interested in acquiring some quantity of C, then Joe would see an advantage to trading away his own commodity A for some of Sam's commodity C, not because he, Joe, has any direct or immediate use for consumption purposes, for production purposes, any quantity of commodity C, but because he knows that once he acquires commodity C, he can then turn around and offer to sell that commodity C in exchange for Bill's B, because Bill would be interested in acquiring some commodity C. In this instance, for the purposes of this exchange situation, commodity C is serving as a medium of exchange. Is serving as a medium of exchange for Joe's purposes. It is the medium through which he facilitates the consummation of the desired transaction, not by directly trading his A for the B that he desires, but by first trading the A for the C, and then using C as the means to acquire the B that he wants. Now, in a nutshell, we can understand that this is the basis of the origin of money. Now, what had happened historically is that you could imagine that in one instance, Joe might use commodity C as a medium of exchange. In another case, he might use commodity D, F, G, H, M, L, P, R, any number of commodities. But what is the case is that not all commodities are equal. Not all commodities are equal. Some commodities have qualities, attributes, and characteristics in general and on average that other commodities do not. And just to quickly list it, we could imagine that what would make something useful as this type of medium of exchange would be something that is in high and wide demand. Something that was easily divisible. Something that was easily transported. Something that was relatively durable, and something that is not easily reproduced or increased in supply. Now, very quickly, let's understand the logic of this. Well, certainly something that is in wide or high demand by many, many people is something that you'd like to use as a medium of exchange. Because if you have something that more or less everybody wants, or a large number of people want, then you know that if you have that particular commodity, then you can easily use it to turn around in the marketplace and buy all the other things that you want and desire. Because a lot of people would gladly give what they have to acquire some quantity of this specific good. Easily divisible. Well, that's because you need to have some commodity that can be divided into the fractions, the portions, to reflect the agreed upon terms of trade. For example, let's suppose that I have fish and you have a horse. And I offer you 3 bushels of fish for your horse. And you say, you gotta be joking, a mere 3 bushels of fish for my horse? The most that the 3 bushels of fish would be worth would be a half a horse. Well, then you stop and think, the front half, the back half, the left side, the right. Well, you know, unless you want to eat the horse, you know, horse meat, you know, the front, the back, it's not going to do the same, you know, to pull the plow or to pull the wagon or just